What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Lett. I'm a librarian here at the Santa Clara City Library. Thank you for joining us during this holiday season. I hope you're all doing safe out there and just enjoying each other's company at social distance levels. But we do enjoy that you're here with us right now. We have two special guests. I'm proud to say they have started an amazing project that you'll learn more about right now, and as well as keeping entertaining in mind what you can do to connect with other people in your community as well. Let's just start off with a little kind of intro from their website. Two semi-strangers, 3,000 miles in a Sprinter van, traveling across the country in search of true love stories. Till the Wheels Fall Off is a passion project by Chris and Glenda to help people foster self-love and understanding through communication, connection, and belonging through the exploration of committed relationships. They have a forthcoming podcast that will be available on Spotify and Apple Music or other places where you get your podcasts. And you can find out more about them and Till the Wheels Fall Off by visiting their website, TTWFO.co. But for now, let's give a warm virtual welcome to creators of Till the Wheels Fall Off, Glenda and Chris. Hello, both of you guys. How you guys doing?
That was quite an introduction. You're so good at this, Dan.
Too good. Years of spoken word, and this pandemic has made virtual discussions and talks my forte. So yeah, I'm all about it. But I'm happy to have you both here.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you. So, first of all, how are you both doing, and how has this navigating this whole year been for you both?
CJ, you want to start?
Yeah, I know this has been a tough year for everybody, obviously, but to be honest, it's been a pretty phenomenal year for me. I don't know how Glenda feels, but we've seen a lot of terrific things, learned a lot of things. So overall, I've had a pretty good year.
Awesome. How about you, Glenda?
I would say similar. There's been a lot of intense pressures and moments, but if we look at like the breadth of work that we've been able to accomplish since January, it's been pretty powerful. That's
good to know. I'm glad you guys are both, motivated, inspired, despite all ongoings of this year. So that's a positive because it leads up into what you guys do right now, but till the wheels fall off. So maybe for both, because of the audience might not know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourselves, your backgrounds, and personally where you hail from at the moment.
My name is Glenda Macatangay. I am from Fremont, California. My background is a psychotherapist. I was doing private practice and family therapy for about 11 years in nonprofit and juvenile justice and in the prison systems and education. And then in 2011, I transitioned fully into doing creative work. I had a couple clothing companies back in 2000 that really got me moving in the direction of art. And I built some great relationships and a great community around using art for activism. And then in 2011, I jumped ship and started Upper Cloud, which is my creative agency out of Oakland. And then I started building art into healing spaces and experiences, and really just translating my therapeutic background into creative space. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
And that's a very abbreviated, version of that, because I definitely know you could fill up a nice book with everything you've done in the past. How about yourself, Chris?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Mililani, Hawaii. Grew up there, stayed there till I was 18 through high school, went away to school in the Midwest for about 10 years. And my training is that by profession, I'm a pediatric dentist. I'm a children's dentist. And so I had my own practice in Honolulu for about 10 years. And maybe about 5 or 6 years into that, I was starting to feel kind of overwhelmed, a little unfulfilled.
Mm.
And so I actually went to therapy for the first time because I was thinking, man, is dentistry really something I want to do? I kind of wanted to get out of it. I thought it was something I should explore. And the first thing the therapist had me do was she said, I need you to understand 3 generations in your family. I want you to understand how you, your parents, and your grandparents interact. And so that held me going to my parents and grandparents and asking some questions. And I come from a family that, although we're close, we didn't always communicate that kind of stuff. And when I went through that process, I really, it was really rewarding for me. And we'll get into that more later. So eventually I sold my practice. I had the opportunity to sell my practice. And since then, I've been working on collecting family stories and then the things that Glenda and I have been working on.
That was some free tidbits of information there, guys. Just to let you know, generational stories and, you know, trauma. And so, think about that. Talk to your family, guys. So tell us what is Till the Wheels Fall Off, and how do you guys both decide to manifest this project?
So Till the Wheels Fall Off is storytelling around love. And a lot of this work started when Chris and I did family documentaries in Honolulu. So I call him CJ, so this is,
Hey, sorry.
I met Chris last November, and he experienced the loss of his grandfather in December. And at the turn of the year, he reached out and he said, you know, I really want to immortalize my grandfather's story in some way, shape, or form for his memorial. Mm-hmm. And so, given that, you know, my company really does focus on storytelling and filming, we really did our passions intersected at that moment, and we started exploring his family story. And we went to Honolulu late January, early February, and we started filming interviews around his family and their stories. And what emerged from that 2 weeks of filming is some pretty profound and powerful moments. What we felt really stood out was when we asked questions about how couples first met. Mm-hmm. And when we were sitting in front of them, there was this point in the conversation where we would ask them, you know, when they first met, and then their eyes would light up. They would really, you could watch them traveling through time. And these are couples that are in their 90s. And so to be able to see this kind of undeniable inner light come through their eyes and then trace back their steps on how they first met was really magical. And so we did that a few times with different couples and their family, and then and we wrapped up that video, and that never left my mind, those magic moments with each of those couples. And I remember walking into his grandparents' home, and there was this framed photo taken at the grandmother and grandfather's 70th anniversary, and it said, falling in love is easy, but staying in love is amazing. And that stuck completely. And so especially, you know, with me having transitioned out of long-term relationships, really trying to understand like what it takes for relationships to last is not just fascinating, but it's really something that I'm really committed to learning. And when I read that quote, it really meant something to me. And so I left Honolulu late February. This was around the time COVID was becoming such a challenge, and it was impacting the entire world. And so I came back. CJ was staying in Honolulu, sheltering in place there. And I kept with the chaos that was happening with COVID, my creativity just turned up. For whatever reason, it was maybe that I was having to stay still for once in the last 40 years. But it gave me the opportunity to process, like, what matters to me? Like, what do I need to fill my time with? I had a little bit more permission and choice to fall into the things that really, that I was really curious about. and not being so driven by external purpose. It was now a time for internal purpose. And that's where Till the Wheels Fall Off kind of was birthed. I created a Google sheet like I always do. And I said, I really want to learn about love. And I don't want anything to get in the way of that. And then I proposed this idea to CJ, and I said, would you be interested in traveling in a Sprinter van 1 week a month for the next 6 months, interviewing people around their love stories? And it would be safe enough because we would be sheltering in place in our own little camper van. So we don't even have to interact with anybody. We could cook, we could sleep in one place, and then just move through the world. So that's how it began. Did I miss anything, CJ?
No, I think you're good. I think you hit it all.
And as much as I know Glenda already, CJ, so tell me, when Glenda proposed this idea based off just those initial early interviews with your family and other couples, what did you think? Because once again, as the beginning of your website says, 2 semi-strangers. So the fact that this project is coming, in a tail end of, your some issues happening in your life through your family, and also that there's a pandemic coming. What did you think when Glenda said, hey, let's do this project and discover what true love is all about?
Well, the first thing is there's a little bit of alignment here because I grew up doing road trips. I grew up, my dad liked to do long road trips, and we used to help my dad's friend transport armored cars across the country. It's a long story, but so I grew up doing these long road trips. So when she brought it up, I didn't think it was strange. I actually thought it was pretty fun because I had done. But also she had been exceptionally supportive of me when it came to doing the memorial for my grandfather and collecting the stories for my family. I mean, she brought a film crew, a sound crew, 2 film guys. She brought a whole crew to Hawaii, flew them out there to help me out. And so if she wanted to do this, I was going to support her too. But the most important thing is that she had the right intention. She was doing it not only to learn for herself, but also to help enrich the couple's relationships, and also to help whoever wanted to listen to it, help other people enrich their relationships and help everybody learn about love. So I thought the intention was good. Her heart was in the right place, and Glenda's a very easy person to support, So yeah, it wasn't that much of a stretch for me.
All right, so that's good. The relationship built, you're as a team, you're strong. But did you guys have any way of mapping this out? Because great stories of love, we're gonna go out in the world. It's a great adventure, but did you map out where you're going to go, who you're going to meet? Was this already planned ahead, or was it kind of just winging it all as well?
All of the above. It was like, it looked good on paper, and then in hindsight after, like, it all was wrapping up, or like, I was scared shitless that we would get stuck. No, but on the real though, like, so we chose our first destination, which was Colorado. And it was more so because, I do a lot of like medium work. And so there was messages coming to me years and years ago that I was going to do work in Colorado. So how the destinations were kind of sorted and picked was basically places that I've always wanted to go. And I've gone there, several times for work, but, with having kids, I've always had to just kind of do turnarounds. So that was how we ended up going to Colorado. So I proposed that idea to CJ, and it just so happens his best friends and bandmates from dental school live in Colorado. And so it was like, everything was very little effort, and it was like done, like, of course, let's do that. And it was just so easy and simple. But he was the one driving literally, and then kind of mapping out.
Chris, yes. Navigator.
He was totally like, I think it was, well, because he got back from sheltering in place in Honolulu April 29th. And then I proposed this idea like, sometime in April, mid-April, around my birthday. And then we left May 6th. So he just got back. And then I swear we just started looking at the route that morning that we left, but he has a really good adventurer friend in Colorado that gave some tips. So we weren't totally just out in nowhere and not knowing what to do or how to survive.
So, okay, go on, Chris.
No, the funny part about that trip was that I forget how many miles it was, thousands, and we went on we didn't take the big interstate. We went on the US 50, which is this 2-lane road. Sometimes there's not cities for 100 miles. Sometimes you don't see another car for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. And I had set up an interview with my friend's in-laws who had a really interesting story. And we drove all the way over there. We sleep on the side of the road, whatever. And then we make it to Colorado. And at the last minute, they pull out of the interview. So now we don't have it. We've driven all the way to Colorado and we don't have an interview. So on the way home, I said, we got to get an interview out of this trip. And I said, what are your parents doing now? And so before I got back to San Francisco, we stopped at Glenda's parents' house and they were game. And they were our first interview. So we actually drove all the way to Colorado to just come back to Fremont and do the interview with Glenda's parents. But it was a wonderful experience, That was the first interview.
I think if you're going to be committed to this project, you're going to have to go thousands of miles, come back just to continue doing it at home.
Right.
That's a very amazing story.
The hero's journey, man. That's very
that is the hero's journey right there. Your Odysseus is just going across to come back home, right? I think one of the great things about just hearing that is a test. I think in any kind of project, but also if we're talking about building strength in storytelling for not just stories of love, but also stories of friendship. And for you both to just get in that van, travel, to be disappointed by a cancellation, but also not dejected by that, and finding ways. All right, let's continue this. We gotta get a story. Finding that there needs to be a conclusion that will satisfy this project and journey. And just getting your parents what if your parents said no? That would have been crazy. They're like, nah, I don't feel like doing it. That shows their, belief in both of you. So once, I don't know how you guys are going to map out this first episode, but definitely keep that as a disclaimer, because that's a great primer to the episode. So yeah, that was sold me on the first episode for sure. So you went to Colorado. Where else did you guys travel throughout this journey?
So, we stopped in Utah, and that was phenomenal. We went to Colorado, and then we decided on that Colorado trip that we wanted to do the PCH. And so the following month, we decided to do the PCH, and one of my colleagues and teammates over at Upper Cloud, Judy, her boyfriend, Einar, is from Iceland, and he's a phenomenal dude, and he's really intriguing and compelling. And Judy proposed the idea to him that if his parents would be interested in being interviewed for Till the Wheels Fall Off, because they have also a very interesting love story and relationship and adventure. And so they live in Santa Barbara. So we basically just built our trip around getting that interview. And then I hit up another friend out there in LA who was also with Upper Cloud, Verley. And she also had a really unique way of meeting her partner, Nick. And they recently just got married too, so it was really fun to have that one go full circle. But we basically did the PCH, we interviewed those two couples, and then we headed home from there. And then each trip was basically determined by the previous trip. And then we kept on kind of curating our next adventure, and we did that 1 week every month since May.
I think what I love about the flow of this is it is like organic. As much as you did a spreadsheet for both of you guys and planned everything out, it's like one trip after another for both of you to feel it out, then have those intentions follow it to the next adventure. Or there might be a connection from the last one that brings it to the new one. I like that because it is an adventure. It's not so much as business or a structured project, but something that flows organically. Just like life, especially in the pandemic. So tell me more about why, for both of you, to focus so much on what quote unquote true love stories. Why is that so important? For us as a human community to speak on these kind of narratives, as well as during the time we are now living in and talking about what true love is.
I think, we kind of addressed before that there was a relationship aspect to this, where we wanted to help people understand relationships and be hopeful and positive about love. That is definitely one of the reasons that we're doing it. But another reason is just to get, our initial goal is just to get families communicating more. We felt like there was therapy behind that. There was the potential to heal. There was the potential to connect, and grow closer as a family. And but we also realized that that's not really always an easy thing for people to do, to go and start talking with their parents or asking questions for whatever reason. There's some kind of barrier with telling these stories. And so we figured out that the love story was a good start. It was a good in. It was easy. It was positive. We weren't dealing with hardship. Like Glenda said, everybody lit up. Everybody loves a good love story. But the couples lit up. They turned into teenagers again. We had, like Glenda said, 90-year-olds, my aunties and uncles, 70-year-old people talking about meeting in the club. Like, oh, we met in the club, and you would have bought her a drink, and we were dancing, and they really turned into teenagers. They blushed, and the aunties start kicking their feet and kind of twirling their hair. It's like, it's a really cute thing. And so, again, it wasn't only to focus on relationships. It was always, it's also just to get families communicating and talking. And even from a kid's perspective, a child's perspective, whether it's a young child or it's a child my age, it's good to see your parents talk about being in love and to realize, oh, you might have seen them bicker at each other and argue and whatever, but there's love there. And now I know where it started and how it started. And so it's an in to get families communicating with each other to help heal and connect. And so that's another goal of what we're doing.
Did you think during all these interviews, did you find that the interviewees were learning anything about themselves or one another with their partner, or something that materialized through their conversation? Because as you said, I think everybody loves a great love story. We all do. Some people are just not too open to admit it, but I watch a good romantic rom-com film, I'll start tear jerking. I'm like, dang, that was good. Even if it might have been corny, but love is something that permeates. If it's not through a couple relationship, it's through our relationships with one another. And I want to learn is, what did the interviewees found out? Did they intensify their love for one another, or did things kind of materialize that they did not realize through kind of storytelling?
I think, again, it's the power of communication. So we didn't only ask them about the moment that they first met. The next questions had to do with, what do you appreciate most about your spouse? And is there something that you want to thank your spouse for that you've never had the chance to do? And in everyday lives, couples can get through their everyday lives. It can become a grind, or, maybe, familiarity breeds contempt, right? So maybe, if you're around anybody all the time, you're going to kind of get annoyed. And so maybe that's the space people are in, and they don't they rarely take the time to sit there and tell each other what they appreciate about each other, and to thank each other, and to go back to the moment that they were so in love, you know, the reason they've been together for 40, 50 years. And so just that moment, just to take them out of the everyday and put them in a space where they can tell each other they care about each other and why they appreciate each other, I mean, that's priceless. It's a big shift. And so I don't know if they so much got stories out of it, but I know they got that feeling. You could see it in the interview. It comes out.
Now, when we were talking about, you know, basically we're doing storytelling, and we're also sharing. So for both of you, especially in the beginning of this project, how important is storytelling and also listening during this process for both of you guys working and, you know, traveling these distances and getting these stories, but also for the people who probably never got a chance to talk about their stories? How important is the art of storytelling to you both?
So I think, well, I'll reference my parents, my relationship with my parents, and then my parents' relationship to each other. We're also a really close family, but like CJ said, we don't always communicate effectively. And just this year alone, through this project of really trying to become a better listener, my goal with my parents in particular was to really love them more precisely. That was like a real intention of mine. And to do that, I really had to be curious, and I had to listen. And like we talked about before, Danny, there's an art to listening, and there's such great return. And I think we oftentimes as a community or a society, we do a lot of talking to seek to be understood, but we don't do a lot of listening to seek to understand. And as a grown-up, you know, like the way that I've heard my parents has always taken kind of one tone. It's always felt very critical and judgmental, but to focus on really being curious about them did wonders for our relationship, because it gave us time and space for me to celebrate their story and to be intrigued by them. Like I would, you know, stories on TV and in the movies, because their story is just as, you know, worth telling as everybody else's stories that have been told in mainstream media. And so doing that real kind of paying attention, and then doing the back and forth and being authentically and genuinely curious made the, you know, the storytelling piece so memorable. And then that was a piece that just triggered the relationship to grow and deepen. And I think that's what happens when you ask people about who they are, where they come from, is that they feel important and they feel acknowledged. And that's why I think you as a librarian, really honoring books and elevating and amplifying the idea of books, is that when it's written, it's important. And when people read it, it creates more meaning. I mean, it really does like change lives. So storytelling, talking, communicating is all part of our mission.
Thank you for mentioning libraries and librarians and what we do. It's, you know, as much as we just check out materials to people, Glenda and Chris, we initiate conversation. I think I'll go throughout my regular day before, you know, lockdown. I think we talked to hundreds of people who either want a suggestion for a story or they want to just talk about their story, which, you know, that either means they're lonely or they're trying to make friends. But I'm just there at the desk and I'll just listen, you know, that's all I'll do. They won't even have a question about the library. They'll just want to talk about, you know, their family history, themselves. I feel like sometimes I'm dispensing, like help for them because I'm like suggesting things that they'll help, amplify their lives or amplify their message. So it's an amazing thing that we as human beings, we can do so much to help storytelling or help people's stories elevate from your families, both of you, and to strangers, you know, giving them space
Mm-hmm.
and a platform to just be. That's very important. I'm grateful for what you guys are contributing. So I want to get into like the little, details of, as you've gone through this adventure, what were some of the equipment that you brought along to even record? Was it something simple? Because I'm sure those who are listening out there, if you're inspired like I am, you're intrigued of what, I want to do something like this, but what do I need to start this off? So can you guys discuss some of the things that you brought along with yourselves to the interviews?
I laugh because well, the first interviews we did were in Hawaii, and Glenda brought her whole professional film crew. So they had the multi-cameras and all this boom mic, everything. And I would walk around to these meetings with my Amazon tripod and my clip-on plug-in microphone. And I'd be walking, and they started making fun of me. They'd be like, "Hey man, you remember your equipment? You got your equipment?" But that's all I had. But to be honest, that's all you need.
Mm.
Probably a tripod and a clip. Tripod will cost you, I don't know, $20. The clip-on mic was, I don't know, maybe $30. You plug it straight into your iPhone. You set up somebody with a good background, and you're in business. So that's all we really had. Maybe 2 iPhones, so we had 2 angles when we got fancier. But yeah.
See, people, if you're listening and seeing this, it doesn't take too much money or what you already have in your pocket to produce content, great content, besides the after polish and everything. The most beautiful thing is the intentions or what you're capturing in that moment. So you don't need a lot of money, people. You probably already have it in your computers or in your pocket. Trust me. All right, so that's easy enough. So y'all can replicate the same things these two have been doing. Now I want to just really talk about, being that I think at least in this decade, we've been living in some troubling times. A lot of communities are being inflicted with financial woes, fear of the unknown, racial disparities, and issues. Can you both tell me some epiphanies that you have discovered in your lives individually or together that have helped you move forward through, the darkness of, your lives, or even what's happening in the broader scope of the world, to a healthier, stronger place?
Let's see. I think with me, I'm a natural optimist, and so I really have the tendency to look at what I have instead of what I don't, or look at what I'm gaining versus what I'm losing. And I'm blessed. I have strong family. I have purpose-driven work. I have a community that has had my back and that, I have reciprocated. And none of that shifted or changed. All I had was I gained time. And it gave me perspective that the life that I lived before this wasn't at all bad, but it was wearing me thin. And it was, in some ways, making me experience unwellness because it was just so intense and on the go. And so what this time in life had given me was some time to sit still. And I think that is really uncomfortable for all of us, because that just means the things that we put on our plate to occupy our mind can also be seen as distractions. And then we have to sit still and really confront the things that are really uncomfortable about ourselves, or about our desire for stability or for financial security. And that shaking up was not, that was healthy for me, because it got me to scale, and it got me to become a little bit more minimal in some ways. And then it opened up this opportunity to really become really implement creativity differently. And it didn't have necessarily a tie to any kind of financial outcome. It was creativity to cope, and creativity to connect with myself, and creativity to build with my family. And it was like everything that I've, built my whole career around was about, family togetherness and family wellness. And then now I have the opportunity to try it on for size for myself. But I do know, like, when we were going through, and we are still going through a lot of the thing I think that hit me the hardest beyond the COVID and the pandemic was everything that was happening in our Black community and our Black families and our Black children. And I think that's when I experienced the most pain. But I really did see my community really interrogate the ways that they themselves cause harm, or that their work is in the way of really elevating other Black community, Black work. And so it gave us all an opportunity to show up differently, and really question the way that we live. And I think that was healthy and required of us to really deepen our work and make it really matter. So there was points where we're just confronted with this reality that's just unrelenting, that everywhere you look, people were suffering, and that has always been. But because we're forced to sit still, we can't escape it. We can't run away. We can't get on a plane and, take the stage. We can't do a poem. We have to confront our reality. And in some ways that is the gift we needed to change, and make some lasting change. So that's how I process a lot.
Thank you, Glenda, so much for sharing with that. How about you, Chris?
Can you remind me what the question was?
Yeah, I had a feeling I had to reiterate. Yeah. Just, what epiphanies that you found in your own life to get you through dark times, just personally, and whether it's a practice that you do or something that you discovered that you found within yourself, or that was taught to or shown you to help you get through difficult moments to elevate yourself.
Yeah, I think definitely over the past 5 years, the biggest learning point, the biggest concept was something called the intergenerational self. And the intergenerational self basically is just based on creating a family narrative. In other words, having a story about your family, and understanding that you're a part of something bigger than just yourself. And you're also part of a group of people that has been resilient, that has gotten through hard times and persevered. If you're here, then your ancestors have made it through hard times, and they've gotten here. And, they've done studies on this with children. This group, these two doctors, Duke and Fivish out of Emory University in Atlanta, they tested kids on, their ability to handle hardship, to cope in school, to do well in school. And the biggest thing they came away from with everything they tested is the kids that understood their family narrative did a whole lot better, as far as adjusting. And I think the same thing is true with adults. A lot of us know the history of the United States better than we know our own family history. And that's by design. The country wants to do that, because if everybody has a common history and has the same story, it's easier to control a population. But the truth is, we don't all have the same story. We all have a unique story. And so rather than, they call it the founding fathers, they try to give us new fathers, the country did, and the school system did. So I think it's important for us to know our family story, to know who we are, to know, what types of values and talents have sustained our family for generations, and move forward in that way. It's a lot more powerful way to move forward. And so I think the development of the intergenerational self is important for children and for all of us in getting through hard times.
I totally agree with what you're saying, is because having a background for myself, Vietnamese American, I've, born here and gravitate so much on my American identity that I tend to not dive too deeply into my own Vietnamese history. I don't think Vietnamese dive into family trees or genealogy as far as, other groups, that have lived here, or, have the resources or the time to create those long lineage, visual lineages. And I hope to wish to someday, for myself and my family, map out that story. I know for me, it's personally a story of pain. A lot of that is, from war, a lot of conflict through colonialism. And maybe that history might be lost, but I think I have yet to have somebody in the family ever initiate it. And I feel it's always been on my heart. Like, if you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And I think listening to you both shows me that sometimes nobody's going to do it for you. You just got to do it. Start asking the questions and have that pencil and paper and just start drawing. I think this is important, very important to know oneself, if not your whole family, extended family too. So I thank you for that. Now you got me doing another project I'm going to regret later, but probably enjoy the most doing. So now here's a more fun question. So on the road, when you guys were with each other, what were some of your favorite music or podcasts or topics of discussions while driving for hours, or Chris driving for hours, so. favorite tunes, or was it the silence, or just,
No, we had all kind of music, because Glenda and I have some pretty diverse music tastes. And we also listened to some research. We listened to other podcasts on couples just to see their structure and what they were talking about, and learn more about relationships and communicating.
Yeah, like a lot of the songs, so we took the loneliest road in America, and I remember because my brother used to sing country music as a kid. He had a country teacher, singing coach, and when I was driving through these places, I was like, that's what they were talking about. It's really trippy to see the places that people wrote music about. And so we really dug into country music, Hawaiian music, blues, Motown, things that we grew up on. Our parents are of the same generation, and so the things that musically are familiar to me, they were similar to CJ's. And then a lot of times when we would hit a destination, we had our own rituals around what we needed to do. Driving into a city, we would take a shot of whiskey and then we would play our rap music, and then we would just use that energy to kind of drive us to the tail end of the trip, just to kind of give us a burst of energy. But it was so fun. And I did a lot of the Instagram stories, and everyone's like, oh, there she goes, they're playing their rap music, they must be going into a new city. And so
relatable guys. Relatable. So when can we expect Till the Wheels Fall Off to premiere? Or do you have a time frame that you guys wish to drop this on the public?
Yeah, our first episode should launch around, I would say Christmas, or around the holidays. Right. We were aiming for November, but we figured that there's a reason why I have a media team, because it's a lot harder to edit than I thought. So we're working on getting the first episode edited and out, and it's so good. It's from this couple that I've met through a community in Oakland, Lil and Danny, and their story is just so dynamic. It's just really layered and fun and cute and deep and profound, and I'm really excited to share.
All right, sounds good. I'm expecting next month to drop some truth bombs on my ears, so definitely be looking out for that, and definitely will be promoting that as well. Besides To the Wheels Fall Off website, where can other people find you guys, whether it's in the public sphere or online?
You can find us on Instagram at Till the Wheels Fall Off, so it's TTWFO _. And we're building all of our kind of assets as we go. We didn't know what this was going to turn into, or if people would really be interested, but we kind of are leading with our own passion and curiosity, and then seeing how far we can take it. So that's where you can find us for now.
I'll warn you guys, having friends who started podcasts and now a couple years deep, once you keep going, you'll find out you got too much content to produce and not enough time to edit it. But I think it's the most rewarding experience, being able to give this as a gift to the people. And I tell people, if you don't have time to read or consume content, in other means, I tell people, podcast is a great tool and a resource for storytelling and to learn. Sometimes you just have to go do other things. Maybe you're doing laundry, driving, or what have you. Pop in a podcast and you'll discover that you'll tune out the world while doing things, and you'll actually pay attention to what's experiencing through your head. And I think what people are gonna love most about what you guys are presenting is something that it's going to rekindle connection with their loved ones or with themselves. So I can't wait for that. Any last words for our audience before we close out?
I'm good, man. Danny, I really appreciate what you do, and I really, admire your passion for communication and helping people either find an inspiring story or learn about their own stories. And so I really appreciate you having us. Thank you.
You're welcome, Chris. I definitely love the Hawaiian Public Library. I have a library card. I paid for it when I was there. I believe in what they produce, especially if they're covering the whole islands. It's a big, tall order, but I believe in that library system. So I'm grateful that as a librarian, I get to produce these kind of talks and share that to the world. So I hope that inspires maybe a dozen, maybe a single individual, or hundreds of people to do the things you have been doing. So thank you again, Glenda and Chris. I hope you guys have a great day. And everybody out there, support your libraries, support podcasters, support storytellers. That's all we do as a community. We tell stories. So listen, learn, and reciprocate. All right, y'all. Talk to y'all later. Peace.
Bye.